Do you want me to work on my hip hop beats or anything?
Yeah. We have like 40 attendees already, maybe.
All right, they can hear me now?
Yeah, they can hear you now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the early pre-show of the Water and Light Shooting Waves with Ray Collins and BenQ Australia.
We'll give it a couple more minutes before we start.
Yeah. People are coming through the door, finished work, trying to get prepared.
Oh, we got people from India and Norway.
Awesome.
From Perth. Hello.
So cool. Where else? Talk to us. Where else are you coming in from?
Hawaii.
Awesome.
Sydney, Brian, Russia.
Russia.
Girl.
My family's from Russia.
Spain. Oh, Hawaii. That's a local. Italy. Do you speak Russian, Ray?
I really wish I did. I wish I took the time when I was younger. My mum is fluent Russian. She was born just, my family emigrated from Russia and landed in Sydney in 1962. And my mum was born. So my grandma was heavily pregnant on the boat ride over.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. So give it like another minute and then we can start.
Can all you beautiful people from around the world hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Awesome.
Okay, we might as well start now and then we'll let people roll in. So hello everyone, my name is Jenny. I'm the Assistant Product Manager from BenQ Australia. Welcome to our webinar on Water and Light Shooting Waves with International Award-winning photographer Ray Collins. This webinar will run for approximately 45 minutes with 5 to 10 minute Q&A. If you have any questions for Ray, there's a Q&A tab at the bottom. Just put it there and we'll read it out towards the end. This webinar is also recorded and put on BenQ Australia YouTube page in 2 weeks. So if you miss anything or want to go back on anything, you can go there. I'll link it at the end of the webinar. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Ray now.
Hi. Thank you for the beautiful intro, Jenny. I'm honoured to be here. I use BenQ monitors for my color correction because my kind of philosophy is that photos don't really exist until they've been printed, whether that's in a book or on a huge fine art print. That's when you can really feel and be able to hold the finished product. So yeah, it's using a monitor that's color matched with my printer is incredibly important. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk to you today a bit about, I guess, kind of my story, how I became able to shoot photos for a living. It's kind of incredible, and yeah, I'm stoked to share it with you all, really. There was really no kind of set plan in place. It just kind of grew organically, and yeah, I'm going to tell you a bit about it. So this is just a nice little kind of intro to kind of lead us into the talk. But this is a cinematograph composed by myself and my co-creator Armand from the Netherlands, and he painstakingly overlays hundreds, thousands of the same image to give it a sense of movement. And this image is called Oil. And this is me in my office. It's not really like a normal office in the sense that the walls are kind of crashing down around you, and it's trying to pull you and push you out of position all the time. So you've really got to be alert and have your wits about you, and yeah, try and get the shot, I guess. And this is where I live, the beautiful South Coast. This is Stanwell Park, and we're looking south towards Wollongong. You can see the hang glider, which is a really popular sport on the headland there, and Seacliff Bridge and numerous other things. Captain Cook, when white Europeans found Australia after the Indigenous people had lived here for thousands of years, he seen coals in the cliffs there, and that was it was noted because coal was, and it still kind of is an important kind of resource. So that's called Coal Cliff and Coaldale, and yeah, it's all full of coal, and you'll hear a little bit more about that soon. That's my mum and me, probably in 1982, and that's actually at Coaldale Beach. And some of my first memories are just kind of just being in and around the water, and kind of swimming underwater with my mum and just feeling weightless and feeling like it was a kind of, I don't know, new world under there, and just felt free. And yeah, just kind of, it was instantly my kind of safe space and my, I don't know, happy space. And it's a feeling that's never left me my whole life. I'm 38 now, and I can still feel the same feelings I felt way back then from my earliest memories. Growing up, we were kind of pretty poor. Like I kind of got bounced around to about, I don't know, 10 or 12 or so primary schools. And life was kind of pretty tough, actually. Yeah, I kind of look at that young kid's face, and I'm just like, I wish I could kind of just tell him it's, all going to be all right, and it's all going to work out. Yeah, so we got bounced around during primary school, and in high school we were kind of fortunate enough to get government housing in a place called Bulli, which it probably doesn't look like much, but this was our house, and I stayed here for the remainder of my high school years. So it gave me a bit of foundation, and it grounded me a little bit. That window on the right with the two little slots, that was my bedroom window. And out of all the places in New South Wales we could have been put by the government, fortunately we were put in this house at this location. Looking in, it doesn't look like much, but looking out, that was our view. That was the view I woke up to every single morning. And if there's a higher power, which I kind of believe there is, call it what you want, but I feel like I've always kind of been looked after. And yeah, you kind of can't plan that. We could have been in Western Sydney or anywhere really, but we'll put in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it's an area that I still call home. As I said about the coal mines, it's a really popular industry here. It's where the mountains meet the sea, and in those mountains there's coal, which kind of was the well-worn path of myself and a lot of my friends. So I became a coal miner. It's a dirty, dusty, dangerous job, and you don't do it for the love, you do it for the paycheck, and you can work a lot of hours very quickly and then get some time off. And that's what I did to spend as much time as I could in the ocean. To give you a kind of a quick little brief rundown of how the coal mine looks or works, you see here a series of vertical kind of shafts, and then you see all these horizontal ones intersecting it. So that's just a cross cut to give you an idea how much earth is above you. You're often 1 kilometer down and 20 to 30 kilometers in. So it's a pretty dark and desolate place. If you know the Illawarra, you can see Bellambi and Woonona and Bulli all on that strip of coastline there, the city. Well, that big map over the middle of the frame is actually one of the coal mines, and there's several of these mines all under there. They're as big as the city, and they are practically an underground city. There's traffic lights and service stations and hundreds of men working deep beneath the Earth's crust, and that's what I did for a lot of years. It kind of gives you a bit more of a realistic view of what it's like to work there. It's incredibly dangerous. Those rocks are falling in all the time, and it's just, I don't know, kind of not really a nice place to work in. When I was there, the average age of a coal miner was 55, and one day I got permission to go and shoot underground, and I shot some photos of some of the guys I worked with, and this is Stephen Broadstock, and he kind of just, I don't know, sums up in a photo the kind of vibe that of the people that you worked with. So he has seen his friends be crushed. He's lost fingers on his own hand. He's had to kind of, I don't know, fight to make a living ever since he was a boy to, retiring. So you can kind of see that in, his eyes. But he's actually one of the most softest, gentlest man that I've ever kind of met. So it is a little bit deceiving, but I set up the lighting to make it a bit more moody. Now, those long horizontal tunnels that I was talking to you about, this is basically one of them. This is just a slow shutter at the back of one of the transports that you have in and out. It's like a Humvee kind of manned transport unit. It was at the end of one of these roads where I was working by myself, and I had an injury that would change my life. At the start, it was a really bad thing, but upon reflection, it's one of the best things that's happened in my life. It's that cliche of the blessing in disguise, as you've no doubt heard, and this was my biggest blessing in disguise. So a normal knee is what you see on the left, and my knee is what you see on the right. So basically where that X is, that's when I trod in a hole, my weight came down kind of off center to my knee, and it just twisted and cracked and buckled, and I was just laying in the middle of nowhere with no one around, deep underground, wondering what is going on, what's next, what's going to happen, how did I get here? This is just kind of a real low point. And fortunately, someone seen my light from my helmet, and they came and checked on me and put me in an ambulance. Well, underground there's no ambulances or fire brigades. You and the guys you work with are, you're the first response in every sense. So there's a pretty strong camaraderie. But anyway, I had a grade 3 lateral meniscus tear, and waiting for surgery and whatnot, I was kind of unable to walk for a couple of weeks. So I remember just kind of thinking, well, I need to do something in this time. Kind of like, when COVID first hit, it was like, okay, like we're kind of just locked down. And this was a similar feeling. It was just, I just kind of felt hopeless. It was my right knee, so I couldn't drive. I couldn't really do anything. And I knew that because I couldn't do anything with my body, I needed to exercise my mind. So I always had this kind of inkling to maybe learn photography. And so I called a taxi and got them to take me to Harvey Norman. And I went into Harvey Norman and I picked a camera because it was black and it looked professional. And I said, yep, that's the one I want. That's the one that I see the kind of professional looking guys use. So that was my introduction to photography. I remember just reading the manual kind of almost daily and just picking it apart and playing with it in real time, because digital, the learning curve is very short and sharp. So the more time you put into it, the more benefit you'll get out. Now, my options to shoot things were pretty limited because I was confined to my house. But fortunately, I had one of the best muses, one of the best modeling subjects you could ever hope for, and that was my dog Chantic. She is such a beautiful girl, and she was my kind of my subject, my muse, that I would spend a lot of time kind of just working out how light interacts and how shutter speed and aperture and ISO work. And I've got some real precious memories from the very start of photography to testing new lenses all the way out. Like she lived till she was she was 14. So I've got a lot of great memories of her, but she helped me understand light, really. And as this was kind of going on and I was shooting photos of my garden and the dog, my rehabilitation supervisor suggested that your knee's pretty good and maybe you could take up swimming. And I was just like, oh, hallelujah, because being at the ocean and just being a surfer and swimming in it and just being near it, it had been months, and I was just so happy to get the green light to go in the water, and my knee was starting to feel pretty good. So I wanted to combine my new hobby of photography with my kind of greatest love, and that's the ocean. And I made a really risky decision at the time because we were kind of strapped with cash because I was on compensation wages, but I bit the bullet and I just had this feeling that I wanted to buy a water housing. So I bought that water housing. It's an Aquatech housing for that camera that I got from Harvey Norman. Luckily it fit because I didn't really check any of that stuff. I just hoped it would, and it did. A funny story about this is not long ago, maybe last year, I got a email from someone saying, from a kid saying, hey, I think I might have, someone said this belonged to you, and he took a photo of it and sent it to me, and sure enough, it was the old trusty red Rattler, and still going strong. And I think that's a testament to the products that Aquatech make. And so now I've got my camera, I've got it in a housing, I can access the buttons on the back, so I can take it in the water and kind of use it as if I was on land. One of my very first swims, I kind of just felt like, you know what, I think that I want to keep doing this more. I don't know why, but I feel like there's something here that I really want to explore. And it was around this time that I told my sister, I said, Christy, I'm going to aim at getting a photo published in a magazine. Don't tell anyone in case it doesn't happen, but I'm really wanting to, just get a shot in a magazine. I don't care kind of what magazine, or if the shots run, this big in black and white in the back, or it's a double page spread, or whatever. And so she would she understood, and I confided in her, and I went about shooting my friend surfing, and I had enough time to kind of just learn about where to be and how different lenses work. And this is one of my friends, Michael Hopkins, and this was in 2007. I'd been shooting for a couple of months, and I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to send this shot into a magazine because it kind of looks like a shot that you'd see in a magazine. So, I've got nothing to lose. And I sent this to a magazine called Australian Surfing Life, and you wouldn't believe it, but my 1 year goal of getting a shot published actually led to my very first cover shot. I'll never forget that feeling, walking into Wanuna News Agency and seeing that, holding that, opening that, and just thinking, man, I was a part of this. My friend and I, we linked up and we did this. He's not some professional surfer. He's kind of just a regular kind of guy, just like me. And here we are, teaming up to get, a cover shot of Australia's kind of best surfing magazine. So I had this kind of incredible drive to just shoot and shoot and shoot. And I shot my mates. I shot people I didn't know, just kind of random speed blur kind of compositions. And I always felt that the waves were the star of the show. And I just used a human as a kind of, scale or a composition to help give the image a story. And so I'm just shooting surfing, I'm really enjoying it, and life's pretty good. I'm actually starting to travel. So I'm going to places like Indonesia, and the mecca for surf photography is Hawaii. And there's no doubt. And the jewel in the crown of surf photography is Pipeline. Now, Pipeline, it's on Hawaii's, Oahu's North Shore, and all the best guys from their local beaches, they all congregate there every year to get photos for their sponsors, competition results. So the best surfers from all over the world descend on 10 kilometers of beach, basically. And this is the proving ground. And it's the place where I wanted to kind of test myself amongst the established kind of photographers. I remember just being asleep the night before and just hearing the waves rumbling and just thinking, oh, I got to do this. Like, I'm here, the ticket's been paid for, it's kind of time. So I went for my first swim out at Pipeline, and immediately walking out even to waist deep water, I remember the whitewash hitting me, and it's not very big. And I just felt the power in it, and I was just like, what am I doing? What have I got myself into here? This is from my first swim. This is Makala Jones. He's a Hawaiian local, and it was one of my kind of, I was real happy with that, to get, someone who's a good surfer at, Pipeline. But what I wanted to show even more than that was just the wave itself. Now, you can see back on this, on the right side of the screen there is at least 50 people, 60 people. And that's all you can see just there. There's probably more behind that wave and probably more behind that wave. So to swim out there and manage to get a shot with no one in it was the first taste that I was heading the way I wanted to head, showing the beauty of nature and the kind of purity of it. I don't know, I just knew that this is kind of the undertone of what I want to do. I was already using surfers to complete the image, but now I wanted to incorporate the waves more and more. It was about this time in 2009 that I put a portfolio of images together and entered a competition called Follow the Light. Now, Follow the Light was set up in remembrance of Larry Moore. Now, Larry Moore is kind of like the godfather of surf photography. He really he introduced a new kind of vision, and it was like tight and bright, and you know, all through the 80s and 90s, Flame, which is his nickname, he was the guy. And unfortunately, he passed away from cancer. And in his honor, they have a competition called Follow the Light. So I entered it, and for some reason, luckily, just mind-blowingly lucky to me. Sorry, I'm still kind of just can't believe it. It's like I'm reliving this again. I was the first Australian recipient of that award, and I really found that my reach was now expanding, because this is in California. I'm not just shooting my friends at home anymore. My work's being seen by an international audience. And it was also on this trip that another kind of really, really cool thing happened. I met my wife. That's my wife, Amber. And yeah, she's from California. She's Australian citizen now. And yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought? So I just continued shooting surfers, bodyboarders, whoever. And by the way, that's a dangerous place to be. You don't want the Pacific Ocean landing on your back, because you're going to have a lot of chiropractic bills, I reckon. So I'm still using the surfers and the wave riders, the bodyboarders, to complete the photo. They're mostly unknown. They're mostly just helping me tell the story. I'm traveling kind of semi around the world. I'm going to places, yeah, just in beautiful Pacific islands, and all through Indonesia, and just having an absolute ball, really. There's a guy called Mark Matthews, who you're looking at now, and he at the time was probably Australia's predominant big wave surfer, and a free surfer. And a free surfer is someone who gets paid to just get the craziest waves they can. No competitions, just follow a big storm, follow a big swell, get there, get the biggest wave of the day, and get a photo or a video taken. And there was a time, because I'm still working in the mines here, I'm trying to balance this underground, sometimes 60 or 80 hours a week, with trying to have a real go at kind of making it in the surf photography world. Mark rang me just before I was about to go to 3 12-hour shifts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I remember him saying, "Ray, I'm going to Western Australia. There's a huge swell, and we're leaving in 10 hours, 8 hours, whatever it was." And I was just like, "All right, let me ring you back." And had to ring my boss and tell him I was real sick. I probably wouldn't be able to make it in. I chatted about it with my wife, and she's just like, "Go, work is going to be here." and this opportunity may not ever come again. So we travel across to Perth, and then we drive 10, 12 hours into the Great Australian Bight, and we get to a place called The Right. Now, this is one of the scariest waves in the world. You can see Jake Stone, who's riding that wave, that little dot, and you can see someone on a jet ski who's towed him in. Where I'm shooting this photo from is pretty safe. It's a lot of deep water, so the wave is going to break and then end, and then you're pretty fine. You could drink martinis there and be pretty happy and watch the show from the safety of the boat. If you want to see a more zoomed in perspective of this same angle, this is it. So this is Brad Norris, who made a slight mistake with the timing and who's actually jumping off a 4-story building. That looks kind of like a, I don't know, Bruce Lee kind of move there. And fortunately, he was fine. He bounced up and, but anyway, that's The Right. That's the power of this place. And it was a place that I'd always wanted to go to. And I just felt like I could show possibly a different angle. And I spoke to Mark, the free surfer guy that I just mentioned, and there was a spare ski. So I asked, if no one's using the ski, could I just go around the other side and try and shoot it? Because I think it would look really nice from that side. And sure enough, he organized a second ski, and he got one of the craziest waves ever ridden, ever, by anyone. And I was lucky enough to just be in the right spot, because out of a 10-shot sequence, this is probably the only salvageable shot, because I'm going up and down, he's going up and down, and there's water in front of us going up and down. So it all came together for this 1/1000th of a second. And fortunately, that ended up winning the surf photo of the year from Nikon. And I felt like I was on the right track. As a side note to that, I was extremely fortunate to win second place and third place that same year. So you can imagine, life's really good, right? I'm on top of the world in my own little surfing bubble. But it kind of wasn't. I guess, like, I was kind of just bumbling around. I wasn't really living to the potential that I kind of knew I had. I had to kind of take a step back from photography. So that was 2011. And I didn't really shoot all of 2012. I didn't really pick up a camera. I felt like I'd reached some kind of imaginary level, and I was just kind of disillusioned with the whole thing. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm enjoying this. And I feel like if you can kind of, even in my face, like, I don't know, man. And I feel like it was probably partying and drinking and a whole host of kind of other things like that. And it was kind of just really robbing the joy out of my life. You know, I was 30 at the time, and I'd probably been binge drinking with my friends from 15 or 16 to 30. And before 15, I was a kid. So it's like I've spent half my life like getting drunk on the weekends. Well, there's got to be more, right? So I had to make the decision at that time, which I felt was right, that maybe I should just kind of give up drinking for a while, which is a pretty crazy thought in the circles that I hung out with, and being that age, being an Australian male. But I did, and that was one of the best things that I'd done. It gave me a real sense of clarity and allowed me to sharpen my focus to be able to concentrate on just shooting the thing I love the most, and that's waves. This shot kind of represents so much of that time, of that inching forward in this new regime and this new way of thinking. And yeah, it really represents clarity. It really does. It was taken on the last day of the year in 2012. And it was like a good way to kind of say goodbye to the year and then jump into 2013 with a renewed sense of inspiration. So I shot in all conditions. I shot when it was raining. I shot in fierce storms. I swam out to kind of underwater bommies and shot mountains and kind of birds and galaxies, and shot looking down from helicopters, showing the absolute force of Mother Nature. And I also shot things that in the blink of an eye would just disappear, to show like a single drop or a 50-foot wave. I wanted to document all of it. Another kind of lesson I learned around this time was that you really shouldn't be influenced by others so much. You should be really shooting what you want to see, not what you think others want to see. And this particular wave, I'm not sure if you can see those little dots floating around the whitewash there, but that's about 2 kilometers out to sea. And the story behind this is that I had a boat organized, and on that boat were some other photographers. And for one reason or another, I was told the morning of this biggest swell in maybe my lifetime that there's no room on the boat for you. And I'd driven 5 hours through the night just thinking, what am I going to do? Like, I can't get on the boat. I'm going to have to try and swim out there because I'm here, and I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. And I'm not going to let someone kind of, I don't know, bully me or boss me around. I'm just going to kind of take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to have a go. And I remember swimming for about 8 hours in some of the biggest and wildest ocean that I'd ever seen. This is Hopkins, and he's right on the top of a huge wave, and I'm right at the bottom of that huge wave. And for the whole duration of that swim, every time you would lift your camera up to shoot, you would get sucked straight back in front of the waves. It was like a big, scary treadmill that was constantly pulling you backwards. But I was just happy to be there. And by a twist of fate, my friend Corey, he said that he has a pilot friend who is potentially bringing a helicopter down. Would I like to join? And this is where I knew that I made the right choice. And I was like, yes, thank you. I would love to be on that helicopter with you. I have this kind of vision of these huge waves looking down on them like some kind of waterfall. Hopefully I can translate that to the pilot, and we can maybe kind of capture something like that. So Brett, the pilot, he's an amazing pilot, and he would ask me, what would you want me to do? Turn 15 degrees, tilt down, and all of those kinds of things. And looking down from a kind of the vantage of a bird, it gave me the opportunity to capture convection, which was just one of those little gentle reminders that, you're on the right path. Although you're getting bounced around, you're still going forward, you're still shooting waves. And funnily enough, now that I'm taking my attention away from shooting surfing so much, and I was just shooting waves, things kind of went full circle. And Surfer magazine actually ran that shot on their cover of their annual edition, which is pretty crazy. considering the magazine's called Surfer, there's no surfer on it, or even really a rideable wave. So I felt like the stress that I felt before I went down the coast and not being able to get on the boat and all that other politics of whatever, that I had risen above it, and I had really just gave it my all. And I don't know, there's some kind of enjoyment in that, and some kind of I'm not sure of the right word, but it was a good conclusion to the whole swell event. Now, I'm still working in the mines. I'm still grinding away. I'm working as much as I can. So when the waves are good, I can say to the bosses, hey, I've been working so much. Do you think I can go to this place for a week or two or a month? And generally they were pretty good. So I had this idea that all of the stuff that I've been shooting, I want to make a concise body of work, and I want to make a book. And to make a book was a huge risk because it was all kind of unknown, you know. Who's going to buy a book from some coal miner shooting waves? Besides that, I didn't have the right shot for a cover. And then this moment came. I've never seen anything like a round hole in the ocean. I was kind of really just caught off guard when it happened in front of me. And yeah, my first thought was, I was looking at the back of my water housing going, I hope that's sharp. I hope that is sharp. I actually just caught a wave in and dried my hands, popped the back of the housing off and zoomed in and just went, yes, there's something about this image. It's called Portal. And we ended up using it for the cover of my first book, Found at Sea. That was a huge, huge, huge moment. And I'll never forget getting the first advanced copy and just flicking through it and just going, well, I've done it now. I've thrown our savings into this thing, and we're going to see what happens. I might have pallets and pallets of books that never sell in some warehouse, and they might be good for firewood or something like that. Fortunately, the books sold out in 24 hours or 48 hours, and I had to reorder them. I think they've been through 4 or 5 reprints now, and yeah, I'm just really glad that I kind of overcame the kind of mental chatter and kind of just went with my true nature and not what my thoughts were kind of telling me, like not backing myself or anything like that. Another really cool thing about this book was that I wrote to Kelly Slater, who I'd kind of shot with a little bit and hung with a little bit. And I asked him if he could would he mind writing the intro for the book? And he did. He wrote it. And I remember getting an email of him at 3 a.m. and I was just like, Eva, talking to my wife, he's going to do it. He's done it. He's already written it. And he's talked about my dog, Chantic, and the one that you've seen the photo of when I was learning. And yeah, it's incredible moment that I'll always be thankful to him, the best surfer of all time, for taking the time out to really help someone who he didn't have to help. So I'm well into shooting waves above water, below water, and just really trying to refine the moods and just show how water and light can really intersect, and how you can shoot, I don't know, holes in waves or tiny little splashes or even like rock kind of formations and backwash flares. Yeah, it's all kind of just snowballing, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And I don't know, there's just so much kind of you can show, I think. And the ocean, it's never the same. No wave is the same. Even if they're like right next to each other, there's just so many subtle differences. So you just got to know that when you do get a shot, that's it. Like that is the moment. If you miss it, that's it as well. You don't get another chance at it, which is fine, because all the ones you miss, they kind of keep you going back for more. Yeah, so this led me to another image that my friend Andrew Seamark and I were kind of ran out of fuel on a ski in the middle of absolutely nowhere in the bottom of Australia in the desert. And when I look at this, like, I just think like we were so lucky to even get in. But yeah, this image, Impetus, ended up becoming the cover of my second book. So they're two projects that I've worked on to get to, I don't know, that they're just boxes that I wanted to tick as a photographer. And a wave photographer. Is that even a thing? Like, I still don't even know. Like, is that a genre? It's really bizarre. Since then, I've been concentrating on some more kind of limited edition work and just really trying to refine my process and my message. And yeah, I'll kind of show you some of my fleeting perspectives, which is a new series that I've been working on, kind of in conclusion of all this before our Q&A. Yeah, I just want to show waves doing weird and monstrous and wonderful things. So with these limited edition prints, you want it to be perfect. You want the attention to detail to really be there. And I've only ever used a laptop. And what an experience it was for me to get the SW271 off BenQ. It is, it's a 4K monitor. It's got HDR, and you can calibrate it with full Adobe RGB to get the 100% of the gamut and the range for my Epson printers. So that's a shot called 10 or X, Roman numeral X. And that's kind of me just tweaking it to kind of get the right colors. Because, you know, a MacBook is great for web stuff, but when you're printing it, you know, it's often not what you think it's going to be. So it's real handy to have a calibrated monitor that I know is going to print like it should. I think a video might play here. Forgive the noise, but and that image with the certificate, that's an iPhone photo, so don't criticize it too much. But that is a huge print, like 1.8 by 1.2 meters, and that's going to a client in New York, I believe. Yeah, so I'm really thankful to be able to use the best monitors in the world, and I'm really thankful to BenQ for having me share some of my kind of, I don't know, lessons and experiences, and kind of how to kind of overcome things, really, how to just kind of stay inspired and how to create. And it's so easy to follow and copy what people are doing, but to consistently create, to think about something and plan it and execute it, I find that process is incredibly difficult to continually do. And sometimes I won't even pick up my camera for months. I don't even feel like a photographer. I won't look at any photo work. I won't open Photoshop. And then other times I'll be shooting twice a day, editing till 2 in the morning, getting up at the crack of dawn. So if you are chasing whatever style of photography, don't think you always have to be on, because it's kind of unrealistic. And even like recently, the surf has been so good, and all I've been doing is going mountain biking in the forest just to, I don't know, refresh my passion for it. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to chat with you guys about today. Thanks for listening. And I feel like there's a couple of Q&As, and I'll do my best to answer them once Jenny lets me know.
Okay, so we do have quite a few questions for you. One is from Chuck in LA. Zoom versus fixed lens, is one preferable in the water? And if so, why?
So for me, fixed lens, 99.9% of the time, because it makes the process of photography simple. It takes away having to choose a length because you've chosen it. And if you want to zoom with a prime on, you just kick forward or you swim back. And yeah, it makes photography a lot more simple when you remove such a big decision from it.
Okay, so what is your favorite beach to shoot around Wollongong, or is it a secret place?
I don't know if there's really any secrets around Wollongong, but I don't know. I think every place has its day, and it's really whatever the light is doing. So yeah, any beach in the morning generally, or really late in the afternoon when a storm comes, I'm happy just to be in the water.
Okay. Chris said he's a big fan of your work and was wondering what your editing workstation consists of: computer system, monitor, software, etc.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. I'm stoked that you like my work. So I just have a couple of external hard drives, all USB-C, plugged into the new 19-inch MacBook Pro, and I have the BenQ SW271 monitor. And between those two things, I find that with the puck as well, I can change the color palettes. I can change to black and white or different spectrums, which is really handy. But with the programs I use, I should jump from Bridge to Lightroom. Everyone says that, but I'm still using Bridge, kind of browsing through Bridge, opening it up in Adobe Camera Raw, ACR, doing the majority of my work in that to give it a representation of how I want it to look. And then, you know, tidying up any blemishes or dust spots or any kind of little annoyances in Photoshop. But the most important thing is to do as much of the work in the camera, because it will save you hours and hours and hours later on.
They asked what lens you are currently using.
Currently using a 105 1.4. So it's a Nikon, really good portrait lens, really fast and really nice wide open. I kind of, if you had tuned into a Nikon webinar that I did 2 weeks ago, I kind of talk about each lens and the characteristics of it. So I do like a traineeship almost with 35, 50, 85, 105, 135, 300. And yeah, I just spend a year or so or more with each lens, so I get to know the personality behind it and how it performs and how it behaves. So I haven't shot for a little while. I've actually been using my phone more than my SLR. So, and I just have an Axis Go housing, and I just shoot kind of slow-mo videos and stuff. And that's been, you know, fun, and there's not a lot of consequence if you miss it, because it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so 105, but mainly my phone, to be honest.
This isn't a question, but Lucas said, imagine how stressful it is to having to shoot your wedding.
Yeah, totally. I've done a couple of weddings, and yeah, they're a stressful thing, especially if there's a bridezilla involved, which I haven't had, by the way. I haven't at all, but I could imagine you get one shot of that as well. So,
have you worked with Russell Ord in WA?
I've met Russ a couple of times. We're both ambassadors for Aquatech, the water housing company that I am sponsored by. So we've definitely crossed paths a lot, and he's a great guy, and he puts his person in some pretty crazy situations. That place that I showed you, the right in WA, he swims out there and gets way too close to the action for me. He's, yeah, talented guy and a nice guy to boot.
Well, you're already sponsored by Aquatech, but someone asked, is there any less expensive alternative to Aquatech that you have tried?
No, I haven't personally tried it because my first housing was an Aquatech and I just didn't feel I needed to change. I felt like that was the Ferrari when you're comparing it to, you know, a Commodore or a Ford. I felt like that was the kind of benchmark. But the world's changed from back then. I still firmly believe that Aquatech have the experience and the technology and the user base to create the most beautiful housings in the world. But I'm sure if you look around, there's other brands that may meet the price point. But also, they've always got people trade in their old housings. So if you contact Isaac or Eden or Phil or Brian at Aquatech, just write to them on social media and just say, hey, explain yourself, and you might snag a cheap one with maybe a cosmetic ding or something on it, or someone had traded it in and got something else. So yeah, don't give up hope on Aquatech.
Yeah. Do you use action camera, GoPro, etc. for shooting sometimes, or?
Yeah, I think the camera, it is a vehicle for creating, and if I'm not focused on shooting big prints, I'm out there with a GoPro or my phone or some old analog thing and just having a ball, like trying to body surf, you know, with the GoPro or putting it in my mouth. So yeah, man, you just really enjoy it. And the best camera is the one you have with you. That's why I kind of mentioned my phone before, because it's just so fun.
What lens would you use for pipeline for first time in the water?
Ooh, depending on the size. If it's like 6 feet, not 6 feet Hawaiian, mind you. If it's 6 feet like normal people size, you definitely could go like a 50 mil fisheye, 50 mil. But if it's bigger than 8 feet, if it's like capping at second reef, I'd probably just sit back a bit and maybe just use a 70 to 200 and try and keep yourself out of harm's way.
Okay, the light in your shots looks surreal. Do you only shoot early mornings and evenings, or do you attribute that surreal light to stormy days? Or also, how important is it to go to places with crazy big gnarly waves?
Okay, let me unpack that. So yes, very, but I'll explain it. Yes, generally in the first hour of the morning or the last hour of the evening is when I shoot. And if I see a storm roll over, and my housing's usually packed, kind of ready to go. So yeah, I don't want sunshine and blue skies. That's not when, yeah, that doesn't interest me as much. I want the real kind of raw feeling. And the second question you had
let me just pull it up. How important is it to go to places with crazy big gnarly waves?
It's important, but it's more important to know your limits, and if you're in doubt, don't go out. I think you can incrementally get to places, and if you're a comfortable swimmer and you know how the ocean works, man, jump in and put yourself in there. But if you're not confident or you haven't swam much with a big heavy camera, just take it easy, because you don't want to get injured or die over a photograph.
So we only have a time for a couple more questions, even though there's a few here. So I'm just going to pick a few random ones. What fins do you use?
I use fins. They're the best swim fins on the market. They supply fins to all of the Hawaiian lifeguards, and they're really good for body surfing and really good for getting out of the impact zone quickly.
Okay. What part does a LCD once I play in the process of refinement you just mentioned, what outcome did you get in terms of improvement?
Well, I think having it calibrated was a huge thing. And also having the real estate to be able to look at the image instead of having to zoom in and zoom out, being able to view it at like 50% and seeing changes in real time. I've just found that a really good balance between what I'd always looked at on a smaller thing to having the BenQ monitor. It was like, oh, night and day, especially for printing. It's so important for printing to have control of what the image is going to look like.
Okay. I think this is nice. What advice would you give out to a first-time surf photographer?
Enjoy yourself. Just have fun. Like, there's no pressure on you to do anything. Just enjoy being in the ocean. If you push the button down and get some photos, then so be it. But just float around and laugh and really just soak it up, because if you're in the ocean, life's pretty good. If you have the chance to go and just kind of cruise at the beach, you're doing all right. So yeah, other than that, just shoot what you want to see and not what you think others want to see. And that's where your power lies, because we're all individuals, and you will be the next you. So yeah, the very first you, I should say.
Okay. How much do you edit your photos? If you do, what's your process? And ever thought about getting into videos, slow motion waves?
Yeah, definitely. Editing can take 30 seconds or an hour, depending on what's going on. So I think I've mentioned it before with Adobe ACR and then Photoshop. With video, I'm currently enrolled in LinkedIn Learning. I've been doing that since COVID happened. So I'm trying to learn new skills. I really think I can show the ocean in ways that maybe are unique to me. So yeah, that's something I'm definitely striving to do. I've been shooting a lot and just stockpiling stuff. So I'm working on the editing side of things now with Final Cut Pro. So stay tuned, and on my YouTube channel, which is coming soon, you'll see a couple of kind of wave motion slow-mo clips.
Okay, and this is probably the last question for tonight. Are almost all your photos taken from within the water, or are some taken on land? What tips would you give for land-based photos of waves?
90% of mine are in the water, and I feel like that skill can really separate you from the general public in most instances. When I do shoot on land, really play around with perspectives. You don't have to walk straight up to the front of the wave, standing straight up and shooting. Go and lay in the bushes, walk down the beach, climb a tree. Try it all, and then there's no failure. You win or you learn. And if you shoot for an hour and you try 5 different things, you're going to get 5 different looks and feels with the images. So yeah, don't be afraid to experiment and walk around a bit and, get some kind of cool little angles. And yeah, I would definitely recommend just trying a lot of different things.
Okay, thank you so much for today, Ray, and thank you for everyone who joined us. This would be recorded and placed on YouTube in a week or so. If you signed up via email, you'll get a notification and link directly there. Yeah, no. Anything else, Ray?
Thanks everyone for tuning in from all around the world. It's made my day. If you need help with anything, just send me an email. And I'll do my best to get back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Good night. Bye.
Thank you.